Okay, back to work, getting ready for the Minnesota Vikings. This is, when you look at their team, they're a dangerous team. Why do I say that? Well, not because they're a 0-3 team, like we are. No, they're a dangerous team because they got good players. Their offense is explosive, with what they do in the passing game, defensively, with Coach Flores and what they're doing with blitz pressures. It's kind of a feast and famine deal. So it's a dangerous team. It's going to be a good matchup. We're looking forward to it. Have to have a great week of preparation. This is a unique team to go against. What they do in the pass game, what they do on defense from a blitz standpoint. So we really got to have a great week of practice. And we'll give you a heads up. Bryce will practice today. Not sure how much, so we'll see how he gets through whatever he can get through today, and then obviously we'll put the report out later. So open it up from there.
There was a report out there that Xavier Woods could miss up to a month. What's the situation with him?
He's going to miss a little bit. I'm not ready to put an exact time frame on it at this point, but he will. It's not a day-by-day situation.
Frank, last week you gave us the kind of the three tiers: the doctor, the player, and you. How far has Bryce progressed in each of those? If you don't mind?
He's made good progress. I think he feels better, but there's nothing like getting out in the field. I know he tested it a little bit yesterday he did some things, but there's nothing like getting out on the field and going through a practice. And so we'll get him out there, and credit to Bryce for being ready. I mean, really at the beginning we were thinking 1 to 2 weeks, thinking it could be more too, but he's done everything he can do to get back here. And he obviously wants to be out there. We want him out there, as long as he's ready to go and play winning football. And we'll see what he can get done out there today, and then see how he responds to it, and then know more tomorrow.
Do you have an update on Frankie Louvu?
Yeah, Frankie making progress, but he will not practice today.
Frank, you brought up kind of the feast or famine aspect of the Vikings. They're kind of bottom 6 in a lot of categories. When you play like that, how much harder is it? You brought up breaking rules in week 1 for a defense. How much harder does that make it to game plan with them?
Yeah, it is. It's harder to game plan, but it can be harder to game plan. But you're also excited about opportunities because, and when you go up against these teams, there's a chance if he blitzes like he has done in the past, and it's a lot, if it's one of those games, then they're going to get us on 1 or 2 plays, more than likely. I mean, I doubt we're going to, be perfect on every play. Although that is the goal. But they'll get you for 1 or 2 plays. But when, typically this is for any defense like this, but, you do that and we should, in theory, get some big plays off of it. If we're doing our job right, if we're prepared right, if we execute right, we should get some big plays, and we should feel comfortable about that exchange.
Frank, I asked you Monday what Bryce learned. You said you talked to him just briefly. Have you had any further conversations and things that you kind of gathered? Or
Not really. Not so much as, hey, give me a list. Let me see your notes from what you've learned. I trust this guy. I trust him, and I know that, and I know he and Josh have had conversations that I haven't been on. So, and Josh, got that 18-year vet, and then you got Andy, and I know they've had conversations. So, as the head coach, I'm in most of the quarterback meetings, and I'm having a lot of conversations with Bryce, but I'm trusting the process and who's around him there, and I'm trusting more than anything him, that he kind of soaked in everything he could soak in from that.
So Frank, how do you approach this with Bryce then? I mean, does he have to be 100% to be back playing, 80%? I mean, what I'm saying is, I know he's your starter, you said, when he's healthy.
Yeah. There's probably, we're going to get to the point here in the year where there's probably a few players that are 100% anymore. So it doesn't have to be 100%, but he just needs to be able to function and play, winning football. And again, that will come down to asking him how he feels, watching him on the practice field, talking to the doctors and trainers, looking at, how his ankle responds. I'm not fretting over it. It's going to play itself out, and we're confident however it plays itself out.
Frank, when you guys were looking at Thielen in free agency, and you were kind of doing the prep work. What questions did you want answered, and did you talk to anyone about sort of his age and speed and what he still had in the tank?
We investigated everything, more than anything, you watch the tape. And you watch the tape and you watch his route running. When you talk to the person, like if you just meet with him, you're signing him. You're gonna pay him whatever he wants if you're just talking to him. Because he is brilliant, smart. He's a great leader, and he's a great player, and he's still playing at a very high level. And we're super excited. We were so excited to get him, and he's been everything and more. And I know it's early in the season, but this guy is a competitor, fierce competitor. The mindset, the leader, the player, how he prepares, how his effect on the team. We got the right guy. We got the right guy for sure. But yeah, we turned over every stone, but it was all good.
Frank, in terms of that leadership, what are the kind of things that Adam does that kind of allowed him to become a team captain when he just got here and was still meeting guys in a lot of cases?
He has the track record. I mean, they're just, listen, in this league, production speaks, and he's posted the numbers, and they've been consistent numbers for a long time. And we've all seen it and watched it and played against it, with him. So he walks in the door immediately, and it's like, bam, this guy has instantaneous respect and credibility. And then, like I said, you talk to him for 30 seconds, and he has the it factor. And so that doesn't take long. And on a young team where there's a lot of transition, he's exactly what we needed, to help bring leadership to where we're going.
0-3, and you talked about being a young team and transition. Obviously, there's a sense of urgency this week, but how do you balance that with, like you said, being patient with the transition process?
Yeah, it is a balance, but there's no mistake about it. And we've said this before where, like, hey, this urgency that we're talking at 0-3, this isn't a new theme. Like, we've been talking about urgency since training camp. And a little bit of that is just as a coaching staff, knowing it always comes down, not 0-3. You're not thinking you're going to start out 0-3, but that's what we need to feel. When you have that 0-0, 1-0 mentality, you need to feel urgency every day, every week. And don't fall into the trap of the routine and a long season. We have to have the urgency. And then all of a sudden, you're 0-3. That's like throwing gas on the fire. We already feel the urgency. This is what I hope it is. We already feel urgency, but now there's a little gas on the fire. And so we have to respond accordingly.
Frank,
On Adam, do you remember your first trip back to Buffalo after all those years, or against the Bills, and what was that like, and what your emotions were like?
Yeah, no, I remember it like it was yesterday. And it is emotional, it is emotional, and now they're traveling here.
Right.
So, which is a little bit different. It's a little bit different when you're going back into that home stadium where you played. But, and I haven't had this conversation with him yet, and I don't know if I will or need to, but, it's just, hey, don't get too emotional. You're going to get a little bit emotional. It's going, but try to work through that because it can be a distraction. So, like we've already talked about, I think this guy's such a pro. I know he's going to manage it well. He'll feel something, and it'll feel different. It's going to feel different, but I'm confident how he'll handle it.
And we'll do the last question from Kevin Tolbert.
Basically, to follow up, you talked about the urgency. How do you make sure that this week they remain disciplined as well as urgent and not overdo things?
It's a great point. We talk about being urgent and intentional. So that's kind of methodical. It's one play at a time. It's hit the reset button. We're urgent. We're not desperate. You don't want to get into desperate mode. So, listen, is this, if people start talking, when you're on 3, people start talking about must win. To us, every game is a must-win game. Like, it's not a desperation because we know our process, we know our players, we know we're giving everything to the moment, and we know we're also the team is continuing to grow and build. So it's the same for every team, but you go through those, you just go through those. Some teams go through it 0-3, some go through it 3-0. So this has happened for us, like we've talking about. We got to handle it well, stay focused and disciplined with that sense of urgency.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Lulu and Woods, anybody other than that?